Today's episode of Ag State of Mind is brought to you by Grasshopper Mowers. With Grasshopper Mowers, nothing gets in the way of mow day.
Welcome to Ag State of Mind, a podcast that examines the stresses affecting producers of agriculture and how to alleviate these stresses and improve farmers' lives. In this podcast, we discuss openly the mental health crisis that is occurring in the agricultural community and what we can do to help turn it around. Now here's your host, Jason Meadows.
It doesn't matter whether you're on the backfield or the front yard. On mow day, perfection is a game of inches. It's a battle of fence line and fierce terrain. Out there, on that grasshopper mower, you don't let anything stop your stripes. Nothing stands in the way of a job well done. For more on mow day and grasshopper mowers, visit grasshoppermower.com.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ag State of Mind podcast, a proud member of the Global Ag Network. I am your host, Jason Meadows. Today is a super special episode of the podcast. I talked to Brooke Taylor from Rural Gone Urban. Brooke is one of the most... I can't even tell you what she is because she is so awesome and so inspiring and just has such an amazing story. And I'm not going to talk too much about it in the intro because I want to leave all of it for the podcast. She is just an incredible person. She has an incredible story. I am so thankful that I have had a chance to connect with her and be just kind of along the ride on her story. So, all right, guys, be ready for this podcast because it is super powerful. So, all right, thanks a bunch. Brooke, welcome to the Ag State of Mind podcast. I appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you. I'm excited to be part of this. This is going to be fun. It's after my kid's bedtime, so I mean, it's only 7:30 for us, but toddler mom life, it might as well be midnight. So
I remember those days. Like I remember thinking so crazy it was how early we had our kids go to bed, and man, now that we're out of those toddler years, I really miss when
we're
bedtime
like,
was at 7
please
o'clock.
go to sleep. Please
It
go to
keeps
sleep.
like it keeps easing back like
Yes.
gradually all the time, and now we just don't get any we basically have to leave the house to get any sort of private life now. So
Yes. Yes. Oh goodness.
so I don't really know where to start here tonight. When we booked this podcast conversation,
Mm-hmm.
your life
Was
was
much
already,
different.
it was much
Yeah.
different. It was much different. And
Yes,
you had something happen
I did.
that significantly altered things. So
It
I
did.
think,
So had we had this interview 3 weeks ago, I would have said, I am thriving as a business owner. I'm a consultant for national and international ag and food brands. And I'm, diving into life post cancer. And now I'm back in the cancer game,
mhm,
which is plot twist.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. I mean, so obviously you've had to pivot
Yes.
and, and I don't know where you want to start this story because
I think we start
at
where it
any
is.
at any part of it
Yeah.
is incredible.
Let me tell you what I've been up to in the past 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
In the past 2 weeks, my oncologist, after a regularly scheduled 3-month check in, had to tell me that my cancers that shouldn't have come back because I met all of the check boxes of successful chemo buffet and all the things that go with it. It shouldn't have come back, but it did. And it's in a lot of places. And I went straight into action. And I launched a foundation in the past 2 weeks. And I have wrapped my head around what it looks like to support my family planning to be here for many years, but also knowing that I might not be here for many years. And also still wanting to pour into my clients because I love them and they're amazing. And just living in the chaos that is just living.
Mhm.
It's just mad chaos is what it is. I'm in the tornado that's colliding with a hurricane of refusing to be the cancer girl and kicking and screaming and telling everyone that is not my identity. I'm actually a really great strategic communicator, and I've built a career on pouring into small businesses and ag families. And I just launched a new business with a friend in January called Brand Camp. And so I'm now a two-time business owner, and I'm taking hard drugs again that are hopefully going to be my saving grace, Lord willing. So where do you want to jump in? Which of those is most enticing to you?
I mean, like, take your pick, and you know, and I think a
Yeah,
lot of people are probably familiar with your story, but the ones that
sure.
aren't, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, let's
it
backtrack it. Let's
let's
go back
go
to 2019. Let's do
there
the
you go.
cliff
Let's
notes.
do that.
Let's
Yeah.
let's let's go back a little bit. So 2019, I am a few years into launching my own consulting business after working for large advertising agencies across the country, working on really incredible international ag brands. And I'm newly married. And on the day that I give birth to my child, I learned that I have breast cancer, stage 2. And so it was my absolute best day, the day that I've prayed for my whole life that maybe I could be a mom, but I also had to fight cancer. And so I did the entire buffet. And what was, I would say, fun about that season is I spent in a career writing for other brands and
Mhm.
strategizing for other brands. And I just started telling my own story, which I think that's an overused phrase in ag specifically,
Mhm.
tell your own
Mhm.
story. But I just did. And I was real and I was honest because there were so many nights that I wish I could find anyone that was telling their own story in a way that made it less scary for me. So I just did because why not? And a lot of people got to meet my sense of humor, which was really fun for me because that's just who I am. I deal with things with humor. I did the entire cancer buffet, meaning I had a bald season. I had chemo, radiation. I had a couple extra surgeries because, staph infection. I learned what it was like to have a newborn
Because without the
crying.
staph infection, it
Yeah.
would have been too easy, right? Like,
Yeah, I'll never forget a nurse saying, "Hey, make sure you only hold your baby with your left arm because you don't want to get your staph infection on your newborn." And I
oh
was
my
like, "Yeah,
goodness.
cool. So, okay, so to recount, I should take a shower to make sure I get the chemo sweat off of me and before I pick the baby up, but only pick the baby up with my left arm." Yes, absolutely.
All while
Cool.
you're
Uh,
sleep deprived.
Yes, sleep deprived, and also because I'm insane, I was taking conference calls in the chemo chair, and so my lovely nurse, Andrea, would be like, "Brooke, the Benny is about to hit. You're gonna have to hang up that phone." And I'd be like, "Oh, thank you, corporate communication team. I'm gonna have to let you go. Oh, that beeping sound? Oh, it's no big deal. It's just like chemo drugs. It's fine. It's fine." They were all on board with it. They thought it was great. And then I had an amputation. I had radiation when the pandemic started. I gave up my reproductive organs, just in case, like a little white flag to the cancer volcano. And then my hair started growing back and I dove back into work and I juggled having a 1-year-old and I just started living normally. And here's a big thing I want to tell everyone. I did not start living when I got cancer in 2019 because I was already doing it. I was just who I
Mm,
am as a
mhm,
person.
mhm.
I've traveled to Europe. I've backpacked across Europe. I've launched a business. That's a even prequel to all of this. I left Nashville with nothing, quit a job because I knew I couldn't fly back and forth to Boston every other week while living in Oklahoma because not great flights out of Oklahoma City or Tulsa. And I launched a business while living in the bunkhouse in my dad's horse barn, as an ag kid does.
Mhm,
Just like
mhm.
so I've done the cool hard things. So I just went back to it and then it came back. And I'm really close to my surgeon, probably because I waddled into his office 38 weeks pregnant. And he was like, "Oh no." We're like in it 20. Like he's my guy. And he was actually on vacation when all of this came back to fruition. And when he called me and I could hear that he was tearing up, I was like,
Mm.
"Oh no, we need Jesus because that's our
Hmm.
only way out of this
So does that,
situation."
like, him being so emotionally
Oh, it's
attached?
because I'm his favorite. That is probably why.
Of course. But
Yeah.
does it make it harder or easier?
Well, he's kind of do you mean for him?
No, for you.
Oh, for me, it makes it easier.
Makes
I
it
have a
easier.
VIP Marvel team of doctors. Um, I mean, I have the ability I know not everyone has this. Um, I just text them.
Mhm.
Like my oncologist, so my surgeon, I don't need him anymore. It's back. So he's kind of fired now. Not really, but like he's still on my team, but I don't need surgeries. So my oncologist, he was like, "You just go live your life. And if you're not going to be back from a trip for an appointment, just like text me and I'll just move it to the next day." And I was like, "You get me completely." So it does make it better because I know that they would move mountains to make sure I could stay here, and they are. So
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously never been in your situation. I've never I hope to as
I hope
being
you're never in it. I'm knocking on
exactly.
wood for
Yeah.
you right now.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
for
want
sure. I
anyone to
mean,
be here.
to be real but sensitive about it at the same time. Um but with that being said, I would have to agree with you to know that somebody like like your surgeon is so emotionally involved. I think it has to be comforting because it makes you that much more sure that they're going to do all that they can.
I have not a single doubt that they will not do everything. And let me tell you how much just like a small glimpse into that. So, my oncologist called me on a Friday night, March 11th, which this is bad timing, happened to be the anniversary of when my dad died from cancer. Like, gosh,
Of
twist the
course.
knife.
Yeah.
And he was, he was going on vacation. He's married to a doctor and they were probably going on their one trip a year. It's kind of like farming. You can't ever leave, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And then I went through all of the tests cuz they weren't really sure what was going on and he came back early from his trip. He was texting me
Wow.
from the airport and I was like, "I'm missing my flight. Can you meet me at this time?" He came in scruffy, which I'd never seen him scruffy ever. And I was like, "You're still in vacation mode." I was like, "Your wife might be mad at you, but like I'm really grateful for you right now." So, I've got the A team. Not a good
I mean,
situation, but a good time to have it. And here is what's really interesting for me. Because I've put my story out there, I am on the receiving end of a lot of unsolicited advice. And it is really like more than, the average duck. And so it is really wild to me how many people are just so anti Western medicine or pharma or
mm,
science.
believe
And
me, I mean, I'm a pharmacist,
gosh,
so
it
I know
is brutal.
it's incredible. Yeah.
It is brutal, and man, I it's so interesting to me because like, do you think I haven't read everything on the internet? Because I have. If it's out there, I've read it. I've read every
Mhm.
case study. I've been on probably every Reddit forum. Like, I've read it. Also, I have 2 science-backed degrees, so I'm an educated
Mhm.
human reading these
Sure.
case
Sure.
studies, but it is wild the amount of people who are coming at me with, "You should do this, this, and this." I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much. So
Yeah.
much." And it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you have to be
And it's
kind
not.
and grateful and also just be like, "Please leave me
Yeah.
alone."
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it has to be a hard situation to be in because, I genuinely think when people do that sort of thing, that
Oh, they
they're
definitely mean well.
yeah, they
Absolutely.
mean well. Yeah, they 100% mean well. Um, but there's sometimes like, it would just be better left unsaid.
Yeah,
Um,
like,
we feel like we
I
have to fix everything for everybody. And
listen, I have to look at my 2.5-year-old and her big gray eyes, and I have to know that I'm trying my hardest.
mhm.
And, like, I am. I don't need someone else to tell me to try harder or to be more positive. God, I need people to cut that out. I am the most positive person. Positivity does not cure cancer. Get out of here. Get off my
Mhm.
lawn.
Uh-huh.
Because if it did, it never would have came
It never
back.
would have came. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
So,
Sure.
anyway, so that is what's going on for me right now. I am trying to figure it out. It's
Yeah.
weird. It's because here's the deal. I feel fine.
You
I
act fine and you look
Yeah,
amazing.
thank
Like,
you. I feel fine. I've seen the PET scans. I know where I shouldn't feel fine, but I feel fine. And so for me, when I'm taking whatever it is that I'm taking that I will not say on the internet because I don't need
mhm.
anyone having advice about that,
Sure, of course.
um, that's what makes me not feel great. That's just weird, you know? So anyway, I feel fine. Um,
Well, I
and I
mean,
pray
you
to
were right
Jesus
in the
for
middle
good.
of it. You were right in the middle of a lot. And so the whole reason why I reached out was pretty
Yeah,
much the
tell
the
me.
reason why I do anything is because my wife told me to. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
you and Carrie were together at
A
Whitney's
conference.
at
Yes.
Cultivating Courage. And I mean, we are very atypical in our relationship, and Carrie is the less emotional one in our relationship. I'm the ball bag. I'm the hothead.
Yeah.
I'm the one
I
that's
feel
gonna
that.
laugh, cry, do all the things, feel all the emotions. She's not that way. And she told me whenever you talked at Cultivating Courage that she pretty much cried the entire time. So obviously that's kind of my that's the things I'm drawn to are
Yeah.
people with that sort of captivating personality and captivating story. And I'd already known it a little bit because I had heard you a few years ago when you were on Rob Sharkey's show.
Yeah, the shark.
Um, yeah. So I
Here's
mean, I was familiar.
an interesting story about that day that your wife heard me speak. So that morning, I woke up and I prayed and I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to talk about today. I got a general idea, but I didn't know. And I just prayed, like, just tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just had this sense that God was telling me I needed to just do more. And I was like, I don't know. That's a big ask. And that day I talked about things I never talked about before. And hindsight, God was preparing me because he knew it was about to happen a couple weeks later. He
Wow.
knew that I'm going to be a catalyst to tell whatever I need to tell because I already told you I spent a career telling other people's stories. I've worked
Right.
for very large brands, very small brands, all in ag, explaining and strategizing and helping communicate stories. And now I'm like pseudo retired, I guess, telling my own story. And really, it's not my story at all. It's here's where I am. This is brutal honesty. I'm going to lay it out there. There's so many people praying for me and praying for absolute healing. And I feel those prayers. And here's where I'm struggling. How can I pray to God to heal me when there are other mamas who deserve it just as much? And maybe this story doesn't end in me being completely healed. And I have to be okay with that because I have faith in the greater purpose. This is a weird, I feel like I'm in the, if you obviously you've seen Twister, this scene where they're in the middle of the tornado and chaos is around them. I'm just sitting here in the middle of the tornado saying, I trust you, but it is real scary out there. It's real scary.
Oh, I mean, it's life's terrifying enough for if you don't have what's going on with you going on. And
Yes.
you know, I mean, I'm a dad. I have kids. I'm terrified for them
She's
because
two. She won't remember me. She just won't. She won't know that we are best friends and we spend the most time together. She'll have so much data and so much content, but I can't give a 15-year-old advice if she's still 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my middle of the tornado. So sorry, I didn't see that coming, but it's true. Goodness.
I mean, obviously, you have impeccable faith.
Yes.
And, this is something that has been on my mind so much lately is how do I incorporate faith? Because I have a very strong faith. Here we go. I have a very strong faith here as well. And we live in this such strange world where you're almost, it's a turnoff for you to speak so openly and so non-ashamedly of your faith that it's like I've questioned myself, is that something I want to include? But you're just hearing you talk and others, what else is there? I mean, why would I ever not put that out there? Because it means, I mean, and maybe it's the sacredness of it, I don't know, but why would I not put that out there when you obviously you I mean, when I see you and your story, I feel like, well, if there's anyone who act like they're should act like they're a victim and be bitter, it should be you. But you're not. And the thing that I find that is most common among people who have stories of hardship and tragedy is that they have unbreakable faith in a higher power. You know, for us, it's our Heavenly Father and Jesus. For other people, it's other things. And I don't know exactly where I'm going with that, but I mean, when you have that faith, being a victim no longer becomes an option, I feel like.
I'm sure this was a meme that I'm about to quote, which is going to just like nick on my credibility a little bit. But I read something somewhere that said, people like to tell you God only gives the biggest hurdles to his biggest soldiers. And it's like, no, I don't think that's it. I think he's giving us more than we can handle. So we know to lean on him
Yep. Yep.
because like I'm not choosing I'm not choosing stage 4
Who
cancer.
would
That's
choose
not
that?
what
Who would choose that?
I'm
Yeah.
signing up for. Um yeah, it is. It isn't easy. I think there are moments where I could, let's be honest, there are moments where I think, you gave me this baby and now you don't want me to raise her?
Mm-hmm.
I prayed for this baby my whole life through
Mm-hmm.
a really bad relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I left Nashville and I gave it all up. The cute
Mm-hmm.
house with the picket fence and all of the things to live in an apartment in a horse barn so that I could meet the right guy at the right time and to make this perfect baby. Now you're going to tell me I have cancer in my pelvis and my lungs and my spine and my neck. There's got to be something bigger at play here than that. So, yeah, there has to be. So I'm going to transition us into this foundation that I launched in the past 2 weeks, okay? So I
Okay.
started thinking about, if I'm not here, how will this baby know me?
Mm-hmm.
And I have this little brand called Rural Gone Urban. It started as a
Mm-hmm.
blog with my then roommate when I lived in Oklahoma City, when blogs were like cool and hip, before ads. And um, it just sat around for a while. And then I launched a business and I didn't have a name. And I was like, Rural Gone Urban, we're just going to reuse that. I already have the website. Anyway, so the Rural Gone Urban Foundation has been filed. We're opening the bank account tomorrow. Like, it's literally in progress right now. The accountant is filing the paperwork for the 501c3 tax exempt status. The copy for the websites will be done on Friday. Let me tell you about this foundation. There are three main pillars. The first one is for B and C students to have scholarships to go to college, because that was me. My high school counselor told me I shouldn't go to college. Maybe I should go to maybe trade school, which is fine.
Sure. Sure.
But I ended up being the homecoming queen at Oklahoma State and the outstanding graduate and getting my master's degree, which set me on a path that I've frankly really enjoyed. The second is grants for small business owners, because I really could have used one of those when I was living in an apartment in a horse barn reading IRS.gov on Friday nights, because launching a business is not super fun or easy or cheap, you know?
Mm-mm.
And then the third, I need to come up with a different name for this because it doesn't sound appropriate, but I know everyone knows this phrase, and that's love bombing women doing the hardest thing, bravest thing, and that's fighting cancer. And it's filling in the gaps of, man, I'm going to cry your whole podcast. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm more of a jokester, but
It's okay.
I have so many photos and videos on my phone, but if I don't get them off this phone is going to become out of date and no one's going to know how to charge it. And my daughter's not going to see any of them if I'm not here. And photo books aren't free. And so just think about how much money that I need to spend printing every single photo I've ever taken, and not just the ones with Elsie, my ones from college, my ones in my 20s, so she can know me. So she can say, oh, mom went to Europe when she was 22. That's neat. She's from a small town just like me. To quote Sweet Home Alabama, you can have roots and wings, you know? If I'm not here to tell her, maybe those photos can show her. And so also gas is like what, $19 a gallon. I live
Yeah.
an hour and a half away from the treatment center. That's not free. And insurance doesn't afford those things. So this foundation is going to take care of those people and love those people without an asterisk. Just love them where they are and help them get wherever they dream of being. And then comes the even fun part about this. So I did a softball lob on Instagram, kind of as a joke. And I said, I don't want to just take Elsie to her first concert. I just want to throw her a concert. So the concert's going to fund the foundation. And so if people want to love through this story, I have a huge family. I have people. Yes, I'm terrified every day about not being here for my family, but what about the people who don't have the big families and they don't have the friends, and maybe they don't have the doctors who say, yeah, you can text me. Let's love on those people. And also, let's love on that 17-year-old kid who is a first generation college student and her high school counselor said you shouldn't go to college. Look, I didn't make straight A's in high school because I frankly didn't know I had ADHD yet. So I just didn't know. And I deserve scholarships just as much as that A student. And that A student probably didn't have a job went from when they were 15, and they probably weren't in the cattle barn at 6 a.m. washing their show heifers, you know? So I'm so passionate about this foundation. And I know that foundation would not exist if this story wasn't happening.
Mm. So it's because it's bigger than you.
It's not about me at all. I have this incredible board that I hand selected. Of course, they all said yes. And who could, like, you can't look me in the face and tell me no right now. Like, I have like magic powers. And someone said, well, what do you want for this concert? And I was like, no. What do we want as a
Mm.
board? I was like, and it helps me selfishly like shift the light away a little bit. I was
Sure.
like, no, what do we want? Because how much money can we raise so we can help other people? So the concert doesn't have a date yet,
Mhm.
but we have an amazing event coordinator who stepped up, who is now fielding all the calls with the labels from Nashville, because
Oh,
That
wow.
was just too much for me.
Right.
So I kind of delegated that off, but hopefully we'll have that date very soon.
And
And
it's
the tumbleweed in
it's
Stillwater,
gonna
any
be in
ag kids
Stillwater.
who've been
Yeah.
to Payne County, they've donated their whole facility.
And it's an incredible, like, we went there a
Yeah,
few years ago.
it's like festival vibes. It can house like
It's an
8,000
amazing
people.
place. It's an
Yeah,
amazing place.
it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. That is, I mean, I don't know when it is or what it'll take to get there.
Me neither.
I can promise you we'll be there.
It's gonna be a
Um,
really good time.
for sure. I mean, because that's that's one of the coolest places, to see a show I've ever been.
And as
And
a mom, think about this. Say Elsie decides to go to Oklahoma State, which she doesn't have
sure,
to. She can go wherever she wants, but if she does,
sure.
and she gets to campus, how embarrassing will that be for her if I'm not around? And she has to explain to everyone, oh, yeah, that was my concert when they ask her about it. Like, she won't be able to escape how much I love her, and I will get to embarrass her from heaven. And that is just money. You know.
That's good. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what now? Living life as
Yeah.
best as
All
you
right. So
can.
someone asked me what's on your bucket list. I'm like, I don't really have one because I've just been
What an
living my bucket
incredible place to
list.
be, though. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, if we think
Yeah.
about it.
It's so cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool. Um, so there's 4 states I haven't been to. So I guess those 4 states, then um, the business I mentioned earlier, it's called Brand Camp, the
Hmm.
workshop. And the first one we hosted is just south of Nashville. So I flew home and I FaceTimed Elsie. This was pre stage 4 or
Hmm.
knowing about it.
Hmm.
I FaceTimed her to show her the airplanes. And she's obsessed with airplanes because
Hmm.
she's 2. She does.
Right. Of
And I
course.
asked her, "Where do you want to take an airplane?" And she goes, "Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse." And I was like, "Bet, sis, that exists actually." So 4 states and Mickey Mouse. I feel like that's doable.
Sure.
Um, Not in like a super rush yet
Right.
to just like we just need to chill out and keep life a little bit normal. I'm going to the next brand camp
Sure.
that's in May. My
Hmm.
oncologist cleared that, and I said,
Awesome.
bye, I'm going because I
Hmm.
love nothing more than pouring into small businesses.
Sure.
And, I'm just going to do some living. And this is fun. I told my husband, I was like, in case this goes the way I don't want to go, you're going to have a full retirement. So I'm gonna retire now. Okay, cool. Just in case. And so I already had a t-shirt shop on my website,
Uh-huh.
and it was kind of just this thing that I was gonna try out last year. It has really funny designs. I just added a new one that says Big Pharma and Jesus. Like, I don't know, I get to be like ornery. I added one a year ago that said "Think a grocery shopper," and I did it just to be tongue in cheek.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Sure.
I hate Think a Farmer. I hate
Yeah,
that.
I know. I know.
Oh, it's so cringe. It's chuggy.
I
Anyway,
know.
so then people's found it and it kind of just took a life of its own. I was like, welcome to the party, guys. You're getting my humor. So anyway, I guess I'm kind of retired. I'm still probably going to speak if someone asks me to come. I will, of course. I love
Sure.
that. Sounds like a good time.
Sure.
But that's it. I think I'm just going to live. My dad said, okay, how do I have Wyoming and Idaho as my only continental states left? Like, how? So my dad is like, we're going on a road trip. And I was like, yeah, I want nothing more than to go on a road trip with my denim on denim cowboy hat wearing ranch dad. Absolutely. Keep you to myself and you're not going to have to go like do anything with cattle. Like, absolutely. That sounds like a Christmas present. So that's it. Living.
Wyoming's incredible. You have to go to Pinedale.
Pinedale.
Pinedale,
Okay.
Wyoming.
I
It's
don't know what
the
that is, but I'm interested.
it's about 2 hours south of Jackson Hole.
Okay.
This little I mean, I don't even know how to describe it, but there's Fremont Lake there. We went
Oh,
there.
I'm interested.
Just Carrie and I went on a we went actually on a 2 week vacation out west in 2020. We were supposed to go to Scotland, but obviously we couldn't do that with
Sure.
everything that was going on. So we got in my little POS Ford Escape or not yeah, Ford Escape, and drove 3,000 miles from our house in Missouri all the way. The furthest we went was Livingston, Montana. And
Okay.
but I think one of the I mean I could talk for hours about this one trip, but the most
I
like
love
hidden
adventures.
the most hidden gem was Pinedale, Wyoming. And I
All right, you're speaking my whole vibe here. My husband and I went to Key West last year.
yeah,
Kind of the we made it through the storm celebration. It's
sure.
funny now. Anyway, because so many people told us Key West was the place. We're like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, yeah, that sounds good." No, it wasn't. It was a tourist trap. It
Right.
was
Yeah.
complete tourist, and not a
Uh-huh.
single person told me that was like, I should have been at Dollywood. Like, it was complete tourist. I was like, "I'm never coming back here." So when you say, "Go to this place that no one's heard of in the middle of nowhere," like, book it. I'm going right now. I'm leaving
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to go since Wyoming is one of your last,
Mhm.
it has to be Pinedale.
Okay.
It's there's
Pinedale.
and there's this little I'll let you know there's this little like set of cabins on this Fremont Lake. It's
Okay.
just I can't even describe how cool it was. We went Carrie, and funny enough, Carrie forever she's wanted to paddleboard, and we've never done it.
Oh,
She's never paddleboarded, and they had paddleboard rental there.
cool.
I didn't do it. I tried, but I was too heavy for
Yeah.
the paddleboard. It
That's
just went.
so funny.
I got on it and it just went all the water. I said, I guess I'm
Oh,
out, and so I got a kayak, and
yes.
she got the paddleboard on this lake that was at like 7,000 foot elevation. It was like 65 degrees out, but she got like torch sunburned.
That sounds
It was
like
just
such a good
so
time. What good memories.
you have to
Okay.
go there. You have to go to Pinedale,
Perfect.
you know. So because it's I mean, Wyoming is just it's amazing because it's so wild and it's so there's just places we went on this hike in the national park. We were by ourselves the entire time.
That
Like
is so cool.
it was
This
so
sounds like a vacation of my husband's dreams. He's just
it
like, he
was
wants to be miles and miles and miles away from humans.
same. I do. I like people, but I
Sure.
also like to get away from them. That's what somebody
Yeah.
said. Like we were at work on a Monday, and they're like, how's it going? I was like, well, I'm at work. I said, well, you like your job? And I said, yeah, I like
Yeah.
my job. I also like my mom, but I don't want to see her at 7 o'clock on a Monday morning.
That's so funny. That is so true. That is so true.
And it's amazing that I mean, and it goes back to what I talked about earlier. I mean, even you can find, and it's probably the way you are pushing on to be able to find humor and find joy still on the most unfortunate of circumstances.
Yeah, that is. Here's
You
the
know,
thing. I will tell you, going and going to chemo, which that whole process, losing your hair,
hmm
the worst, if we're being
right?
honest. Like,
Sure.
I'm going to need some scientist somewhere to focus on if 1 in 8 women are going to specifically fight breast cancer at some point in their life. Can we at least make sure they don't look like a potato? You know,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
Yeah.
But also, what I found is if I can make all of my medical team, everyone, like from the scheduler at the front desk, like every single person I interacted with, if I can make them smile,
Mm.
it's almost a strategy. Like, I worked in account services at ad agencies my whole life. But if I can make them smile, they're going to be nicer to me and I'm going to have a better time, because they deal in a really, like, they deal in hard stuff every day. So why not make them laugh? Like, did my jokes get worse as time went on? Yes. Are they getting worse now? absolutely yes. Like, can I? Oh my gosh. I put this on Twitter the other day, and thankfully, Twitter welcomed me with open arms. I said something by accident the other day, and it was too far for even me. You might have to cut this out. But I was like, it's just one of those days with a toddler. It was just like a day,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
she's like me in a small person's body, and I did not realize how brutal I was until it was, like, talking back to me. Anyway, my husband was like, "You need to rest, like, I think you're" this was, like, right after I learned all this stuff, and he said, "You need to rest, like, this new thing that you're taking, it's taking you down a little bit," and I, on accident, said, "Ah, I can sleep when I'm dead."
Oh.
And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I was like, "Oh, that was good though. That was a
That's
good one. That was a good one." And he was like, "Ah, this is gonna get so bad, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah, they are. You should start tweeting them because they might go viral." You're welcome. I didn't mean it though. It was a total accident. So,
but it's humor though. Like
yes, this is just it. And I don't know, this is you almost have to have humor in this, otherwise it would just take you down. When people say
sure.
someone is resilient or a fighter fighting cancer, what they actually mean is they're fighting all the Karens in their lives who are like, "Have you tried essential oils?" That's the fight. That is the fight right there. So here's the thing. This concert, I'm gonna go through everyone's things and like if you try to play Survivor song or I'm gonna love you through this. Like, we don't need reminders of cancer
Hmm.
because I see it every day.
Hmm.
I
Like
gave
you
my
forgot or something.
breasts away. I gave my like all things away. I don't need a reminder. How about we just have a good time, you know?
Hmm. Sure.
I just think those things are not helpful. I'm not a walking billboard for cancer, which is hard because they talk about it
Right.
openly.
Yeah. But I mean,
But that's not who people are,
yeah.
Like, I'm not
Instead,
just
just
gonna start wearing, like, pink ribbon earrings or something,
yeah. Well, I mean, instead, be a walking billboard for life. You know,
Yes,
be it
absolutely.
what the kind of life that you should live, regardless of
Yeah,
whether or not you have a terminal illness.
yeah.
I mean, it's
I think
just
that's so here's what's fun, tomorrow, I'm getting an award from feels weird, I don't feel old enough to get it, but I guess I am 35,
geez, you're
from my
ancient.
I know, from my college department, like a young career I don't even know the official thing. And I was like, "Can we talk about this instead of stage 4 cancer, everyone on the internet? Because
Yeah.
this is kind of cool." They're admitting that I actually did a okay job after I graduated. They're kind of proud of me. Like, I think it was hit and miss for a little while, but they're not ashamed of me. Look at that. Like, that's pretty cool.
I mean, that's the.
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
definitely
that's the
gonna post
goal,
about it
right?
selfishly, be like, "Look
Of
at this
course.
stuff I'm still doing," and that's what's hard too, it's like, I don't wanna give my clients away. I have one client who gosh, I wish I could had a client like this early in my career because he just likes to push buttons and push back on the norm and just
Yeah.
do things in a really authentic way,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "I don't wanna stop working with you and your brand, like, I'm not gonna start living like I'm planning my funeral." Like, I did, look into going ahead and buying a tiny piece of land, like, just in case, but we should all do that anyway. I
Sure.
just wanted to say and where the piece of land was.
Sure. Sure.
So, anyway, it's just weird. It's just all of this is weird. There's no good way to do it, but
Yeah.
if I
But
can make people laugh and cry and hit them in all their Care Bears, I think that's probably what Jesus wants me to be doing, so
yeah. Well, I mean, not to like harp on the cancer thing, but have you ever seen Jim Valvano's SB speech?
I have, yeah. I
Where
have.
he says you should, and once a day you should laugh, once a day you should cry, and once a day you should think. You
Mhm.
know, like, I mean, that sounds super like corny and cliche, but
No,
like
it's true though.
if you
So
strip
true.
it down, I mean, we should all have we should have all have those moments in a day. And
I
um,
wish everyone could have this perspective that I have now. So I liken it to, it's hard to describe to someone what the feeling of being married is to someone who's never been married. And it's hard to describe what being a parent is like to someone who doesn't have a child.
mhm,
I basically have just unlocked another level that I kind of didn't want to unlock, but I see the world completely differently and I won't be able to explain it to everyone. And that's okay. I don't want you to get here, but want to share a little bit of it because what is so, so, so cool is that for whatever reason, I've lived, I've pushed through fear my whole life. So this isn't as scary as it could be because I've already been doing scary things
mhm,
and just like thinking through things interesting. So for example, if someone wants to go to Europe because that sounds fun, but they're like that's scary. What if it isn't that scary? Like stop going out to eat a couple times and get a Google alert and get a flight. It's probably not as expensive as you think it is. And getting a hotel room in the next town over probably costs the same in Europe, Like just go do the thing. Just try it. I wish I could just give the just try it speech to everyone.
yeah,
What are you
and that's
waiting
a
for? Cancer?
here.
Like, come on.
Well, here's the deal, and I heard this on a podcast today. Actually, it's like because we all talk about, well, the key to success is time management or whatever, and this guy's like, yeah, that's not so much the truth because no matter what, two people sit in the same room, same time of day, and those sands pass through the hourglass at the same time for everybody. A minute is a minute, an hour is an hour, no matter what. But it's like, what what's important to you? Is it important to you to, well, like I said, everybody can see the car that I drive every single day and know that a car is not important to me.
Mm.
But
Just
I
design your
could,
life the way you want it.
yeah, I could have a nice car. I absolutely could
Sure.
have a nice car, you know, but I like other things better. I'd rather have other things. And, time and money are so, like, I feel like linked in this. And, you should absolutely, you should make the most of it. No, again, I mean, I don't mean to keep speaking in cliches, but I mean, no regrets. I have a very hard time even with the term regrets because I think it's a pointless endeavor to regret anything. And I've tried to live my life that way, and eh, I think it's been okay so far.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I think about, oh, yeah, we're going to go here. I think about sometimes how my life would have turned out had I not done the bravest thing I've ever done in my whole life. And that was pack up all of my things and leave a really, really bad relationship
Hmm.
with nothing because my attorney said I could take nothing. Well, I mean, like, nothing. I mean, I had something like I was allowed to take like I think like a couple $1,000s from the bank account and whatever could fit in like a very small U-Haul, and I had like a 2-hour period. So like in regards to like a whole life and having a career, like I took nothing,
Hmm.
and having 3 years and a child and this stuff, even if I only get it for let's say 5 or 10 years total, how much more rich am I because I made that really hard, brave decision.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. I remember so vividly praying to God that I was like, I will stay here. I'm going to lose my family and my friends, and I'm never going to become a mom. And if you tell me I can go, like I will not waver. I will leave and I will go. Thank goodness I did.
Mm. Right.
Thank goodness I did. I don't have
Yeah.
any, I'm living, even with cancer, my life is wildly cool. Like wildly cool. My
Yeah.
husband He's so annoying sometimes, but he's also a smoke show. He has a job that he loves. He's a great dad. My kid is like me in a tiny person body with wild blonde hair, so it doesn't look like me, but acts like me. I own 2 businesses. Well, I'm kind of retired. I don't know. That's confusing. Can I still say that? I'm launching a foundation.
Retired, you can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, and I don't play golf. I should pick that up.
It's overrated.
And I am just wildly honest with all of my friends. Like, I hold nothing back. Like, I love the Golden Girls still. I've been watching them since like
Oh my
93.
gosh,
I'm like in
we
it.
love them.
I'm in it. Like when they're brutally honest, like that's me now. I get it. It's not because they're cranky, it's because they have perspective. And they're like, none of it matters anyway. None of it matters. So let's just be honest about it and have a good time.
So
So
a small rabbit hole
yeah,
about the
hit me.
Golden Girls. We saw
Yes.
that Carrie showed me this meme the other day, and it talked about the Golden Girls' ages. Do
Oh,
you
were they like, yes.
do you know
That's
Blanche
always
was like
bothered me.
supposed to be 46 years old?
Yeah, except that was stupid.
That's
Also,
stupid.
they had like they totally messed that up because they looked like they were like really old. And then
Right.
their kids would visit them from college. And even like as they were making it, whoever in production did not think that through. Like that did not make sense.
But that was like the way things were back then. They didn't have to make sense. They just did it.
No, the 90s were a wild time. It
It
was
really were.
wild.
You ever listen to music from the 90s? None of it makes sense.
Yeah,
None of
but
it makes
also, do you
sense.
ever listen to lyrics and you're like, "My parents let me sing this song in the talent show in 5th grade. It did not matter where like whose bed were your boots under. Like, why did I sing that?"
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, things were
It was a different
it
time.
was very wild to be a child of the 90s.
It was
I
a
mean,
different time.
it was such a
Yeah.
different time.
Gosh, they're gonna
So,
say that about us someday.
right. Oh my gosh, yeah. I've been really careful because I'm not sure this is what I wanted to say,
It's okay.
but
Hit me.
I think that you would agree. It's almost as if we should all, and I don't want to discount your struggles, obviously, but like we should all be so fortunate, like to have the struggle that you're going through, but still understand like there's so much, like there's so much that like, even still to be grateful for. And
Yeah.
it almost like in a way, and and I'm trying to see this from, I'm almost like, sometimes I'm almost positive to a fault, and it drives Carrie nuts. I'm one of those kind of people who just blows up and then I'm over with it type of deal. I don't stay mad. Like I have a very short temper, but it's just that,
Mhm.
it's short, it's gone. So I always try to like look on the positive side really fast with things, and it drives Carrie nuts because she likes to be mad. She likes to hold grudges. She
Yeah.
likes to be mad at me for longer than 5 minutes, and
Sure.
that's but that's what I'd keep. I mean, and tell me
I
if
think
I'm
we can hold space for both.
sure,
Like I can
sure.
tell you that I am like this. Can I say this sucks? Like this isn't great, you
How
know?
could it be great? Yeah,
Like
right, exactly.
it just generally sucks. Like I have to like here for the this is specific to moms. I'm
Hmm.
just general.
It's okay.
Like I had to ask my husband if he wanted to go with me to take my daughter to her dentist appointment because it's something I handle. Like he might need to know where the dentist is. Like nothing about that didn't suck. Like sitting there while he was filling out the paperwork, which he's more than capable of doing. He's a brilliant person. And thinking like fighting the urge to not just be like, "Ah, just hand me that and let me fill it out." Like just let me do it.
Wow.
And it's like, "No, this might end up being his job." So nothing about this doesn't suck. But I believe in God and that this is way bigger than me. Like it already is way bigger than me. And I'm not special. I'm not more special than anyone else. But for some reason, I'm in this position And I could selfishly keep it all to myself. I could selfishly say, I don't want anyone to know about this and I'm going to keep it to myself. But instead, I'm fighting against every fiber in my being and saying, no, let's turn it around and let's use this for something. And that is the good. Like we can have the good, even if it sucks.
Yeah. I'm gonna push back
Okay.
because I think you are special, but I also
Oh,
think, but I also think that, and again, it goes back to that cliche of, you were you were maybe you were built for this. Maybe this is your. I mean, not maybe. I think it's obviously it's your purpose, and
I,
so many of the people have done so much hard work for to make the rest of our lives easier,
yeah.
and just maybe that's what this is about. I don't know.
Yeah. There are a few things that help me sleep better at night. One of them is Ativan. Praise, praise the Lord for blessing some scientist for making Ativan. The second is knowing that if I go to the train station earlier than I'd like to go to the train station, that maybe I've left a tiny enough ripple that turns into waves that my daughter can feel my presence and can't escape it if I'm not here. And the third thing is like hoping against hope that like time works differently in heaven so that if I go, I only have to like miss y'all for like a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing that helps me sleep a little bit better.
Mm.
And I know like that's just my own coping mechanism. And like I believe maybe time works differently and maybe that could be true. I don't know. That's just the fairy tale I'm telling myself. But I think the waves really keep I just want her to know, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to have to tell her. Like I just want her to everywhere she goes, she can say, "Hey, I can launch a business because my mom did." Or, "Hey, I can have a corporate career because my mom did." "Hey, I can move back to a small town with really bad internet because my mom did." You know, she doesn't have to be the first to do it. And maybe that's just like a small thing I can leave behind for her. And also,
and
I plan to be here for a long time, hopefully. I
and
don't know. Really
and
weird here.
so it's, and you hear those things like, and you say, and we talk about leaving a legacy, and I think a
Hmm.
lot of times we associate legacy with a financial type of, and obviously that's a part of it too, but the legacy is so much bigger in just the fact that she can say, yeah, my mom did that, so I can do that. My mom did the hard thing, so
Yeah.
I can do that. That's what a legacy is about. That's the true meaning of a legacy.
Hmm. Yes.
I could literally talk to you all night, but
That is very kind.
I don't think anybody else would appreciate it very much.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for having me
Well, thank you for
on this
being
podcast. This is
here.
wonderful.
I mean, it's
Literally. You're welcome.
that's funny. Well, it's, you know, I I can see why so many people say so many great things about you, because even though this is through a computer screen, I feel it, and I feel that I feel that no matter what happens, that your work will never be in vain. It's it's serving a purpose already, and and I appreciate that, and I'm sure so many other people do as well.
Thank you for your words. That means a lot.
Where can everybody, I mean, we've said it before, you've said it before, where can everybody find all your stuff online?
Rural, gone, urban,
Gotcha.
everywhere.
Cool. We'll link that in so everybody can find you real easy. Brooke,
Perfect.
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you
so
for
much.
this evening, and obviously wish you all the best and can't wait to have you back on here.
I'd love to be back here. I'll tell you how successful the concert is and how much money
Yeah,
we've given away through the
for
foundation.
sure. For sure.
All right.
Have a great
Thank you.
evening.
Thanks for listening to Ag State of Mind. We hope this episode has encouraged you. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Ag State of Mind. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify so you never miss an episode. See you next week.